and you look great.
Thanks. You guys look awesome.
Working. This one.
Live with 0 technical difficulties. That's great. Welcome, everybody. We have a unique experience tonight. We are survivors, and we are grateful to be able to have all of you join us tonight on our Facebook Live page. We are at our first survivors retreat here in Nashville, Tennessee, and so you guys all.
We're the survivors.
So just wanted to be able to say hi at this unique moment. We're really excited to be able to get together and provide more stuff, you know, for you guys to be able to use in your and share with others as we all go through this survivor experience. So anyway, we want to introduce Meagen Lish-Crafton. She is so amazing. I have to share a quick story of how I got to know her. She is in my church community, and but I actually haven't met her in person. I was really touched by something in her feed. She shared a picture of her sweet baby Zion, and it immediately drew me in. Zion is a stillborn, and she was sharing about her faith and helping and what's helped her and how she knows she's going to be with her sweet baby again. So a little bit about Meagen. Oh, to finish that, I just reached out to her and we connected, and I just felt so strongly. We both had this huge desire to be able to serve other bereaved parents, and I said, "Oh my goodness, Meagen, you have to follow our survivors group, because that's what we're going to do, is help find ways to serve, because that's what are is going through some type of loss and then learning how to heal through service." So to introduce Meagen, she is in Indiana. She has 6 children, including sweet Zion, and yeah, we are just excited to have her on tonight, and thank you for joining us. Meagen, just go ahead and share.
Yes. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to, go ahead and share with all this. To begin with, I just want to say that I'm a survivor because I've learned to love more deeply through the loss of our son. And so I guess I'll just give you a little bit of history and background on everything. So it was a normal pregnancy. There wasn't anything wrong other than he was huge the whole pregnancy. Like, he was always measuring a month bigger than he was supposed to. So I just kept thinking, oh my goodness, this kid's gonna be a linebacker. He's ginormous. And before he was due January 2nd, and we kept trying to have him a week earlier because I was so big and so uncomfortable, and it was hard to move, and we have so many kids, and so it just was like, it'd be so much easier if I could just have him a week sooner, but we couldn't because insurance doesn't let you have babies before 38 weeks as far like with C-sections. So a lot of my kids have been C-sections because we had twins, and so since then we've just had to do C-sections. And so the scheduled C-section was January 2nd, and the night before, actually the whole day before, I noticed that he was moving a lot less, and so I told my husband, like, this isn't right, something's wrong. But then, mom's 100% at like 10 to 1 or whatever, they worry so much, and there's really nothing wrong. And I have that a lot where I just worry. And so I told my husband, like, something's wrong. He's not moving. And so we tried blasting loud music by my stomach to see if he'd move. And he wouldn't, and he tried scaring him. It's like, we were laughing about it, thinking it was ridiculous of what we were doing. And we'd also, you Google things, and it said at 39 weeks they move less because they're so big. And I knew that he was huge, And so the night before, like, I kept thinking, I need to go in, or should I not? We'll be in a couple hours, because we had to go in early the next day. And he would still move occasionally, but not like normal. Like the whole pregnancy, you could see his whole arm move across my stomach. And so we said like a special prayer together. And we really felt like that both of us felt that God's will would be done. And so naturally, I just thought, God's will couldn't be to take my son. Like, it just, didn't even cross my mind. Because to me at the time, that just seemed ridiculous, Like, of course I'm supposed to have my son. But I will say at the time we didn't know it was a boy, that we were trying to let it be surprised, So anyways, we said that prayer, and I was like, okay, everything's going to be fine. And then we were doing this one last hoorah together. We were staying up till like 2 o'clock in the morning watching all these videos. And then we finally went to bed. I said a prayer, please let him move, so I know that everything's okay. And I laid down, and I felt to move. And then I just said another prayer. I'm like, oh, thank you. It's okay. I can sleep now. And then I didn't realize that would be the last time I'd ever feel him move. And so we go to the doctor, and we're all excited. And they get me all checked in, and then they hook up the monitors, and then the one nurse is like, oh, this thing isn't working, the big monitor that feels the heartbeat, or that says it and puts it on the monitor. So she's like, it's not working. And then she's like, let me go grab another one. And so I wasn't even worried, because I just felt like things were going to be okay. And so she goes and gets another one, and she still can't find a heartbeat. And so then I'm like starting to panic, because that's never happened, At the doctor's office, they always found his heartbeat within seconds. And so then she's like, well, let me get an ultrasound, and we'll check things out. And all the nurses are trying to be uplifting, like, it's okay, everything's gonna be all right. And so they get the ultrasound machine, and she's like, I'm not seeing anything, let me get the doctor. And so she goes and gets the doctor, and he's looking around. And when he was doing it, I was watching his face, and I just saw it fall. Like, he knew, but he didn't want to tell us. And so the only thing he said was, he just turned and he said, I'm sorry. And then, immediately we both just started sobbing, because obviously it's supposed to be one of the happiest days, and it quickly turned into the worst day of our lives, And so obviously there's lots of crying and lots of, you just don't know what to do. Like, you don't know how to handle that. And so my husband was actually really strong. He was the one that called everyone to tell me, because I was a mess. I couldn't talk to anyone. And they actually had this really cool, like, we went ahead and went with the C-section, just because, we're following through with it, and not to do like the natural birth. They gave us that option, but we just decided to just do a C-section and have him come that way. And then the doctor holds him up, and it's a boy. And I had been hoping it'd be a boy so much, because we have twin boys, and they're so wonderful, and I love them so much. But we had so much family helping us constantly, because our daughter was so young, and we had the twins. And so, like, neither one of them were really mama's boys, if you could say that. I mean, they loved me and I loved them, but I was really looking forward to having, like, everyone says you have such mama's boys, and so I was really hoping for that. And then when they said it's a boy, I was so happy, but like devastated at the same time. And so fast forward a couple days, we leave the hospital. We had to stay a couple days just to make sure, everything heals and whatever, where I had the C-section. And we get home, and my husband says, I want to build his casket. I need to do something for him. And I was like, okay, let's do it. That's awesome, because he does a lot of woodworking, and he does wonderful with all those things. And so he started building his casket, and my dads and the uncles, they all wanted to help so they could be a part of, doing something for our son. And so my husband built the outside. It was the most beautiful casket I've ever seen. And then I had the opportunity to do the inside of it. My grandma makes all of our kids' blankets. And so we made the inside of it with the blanket she gave us. And at the funeral, my husband said he was super grateful for the opportunity to make the casket because it was his way of serving him and protecting him and providing shelter like what dads are supposed to do. And then he also pointed out that it was really good for me because it was, my chance to provide comfort and nurture for him because I was making something soft and comfortable for him to lay in. And so that service for him was really, really wonderful for us. Like, it really helped. I wouldn't say closure-wise, but in a way, yeah, closure. It was just huge to have that. And then, I didn't tell a lot of people that I was struggling, and I don't like to be weak or show that I'm weak or anything like that, so I held a lot in and didn't tell anyone. Well, for weeks and weeks, I just felt so guilty thinking that I killed him because I knew something was wrong. And I didn't go in, and I just kept thinking, if I would have went in, I would have him right now. And so, I just carried this massive guilt, because he was in me. I knew moms are supposed to protect their kids and love them, and I just felt like such a failure. And so, finally, one night, I just decided to, pray, and I prayed for over an hour. And I just kept telling the Lord how sorry I was for failing and for not taking care of my baby like I should have. And I just kept asking for forgiveness, and I had this overwhelming feeling that that's what was supposed to happen, that God needed him back. And even though I didn't understand why he needed him, he understood more than anyone because he had to watch his son suffer also, And so I just felt such comfort at that time. And I feel like the stages of grief for me were all out of whack. I was really sad and devastated. And then there was, the blame and the guilt. And then at that point, I had never been angry or anything like that. I was just, if anything, I was mad at myself, but I wasn't mad at God, or I just was, really upset that I didn't follow through with that. And then fast forward, to almost a year, when Thanksgiving comes around or Halloween or just any of the holidays, I kept thinking of how I would have dressed him up for Halloween and how much I'd love watching him eat his first sucker or, just silly things like that. And I just kept thinking of all the what ifs. What would his smile look like? Would his eyes have been blue like mine? Or would they be brown like their dad? You just wonder those things. And even though I never saw him, I felt like I knew him, and I felt like I was broken. So broken, but I couldn't tell anyone. Because I feel like people didn't get it. They'd say, well, you didn't know him. You didn't. But I did know him. And I felt robbed, and then I started to feel really angry because I felt like I should have him. It's not fair. So there was a lot of, I don't want to say yelling prayers, but kind of, I was angry, and I would yell in my prayers and say, how dare you take him away? But every time with those prayers, I felt this immense love and understanding. And I know that God was never mad at me for feeling the way I felt because he got it, and he knew how hard it was for me. And so, that first year, there was a lot of pain, and it was really, really hard. But the one thing that really, really helped me was having my other four, because at the time we'd only had, the four older ones. And they were struggling a lot. It was really, really hard for them. For a couple of months beforehand, they'd been practicing putting diapers on babies and everything. And so I felt like I had to be strong for them. So they never saw me cry. It was very, very rare. If I did, it was because I stayed up and when everyone was asleep in the house, then I would fall apart. But I didn't ever let my kids see me fall apart because they were already broken. And I felt like I had to show up for them. And so we just had a lot more snuggles. We put into this thing where the kids slept with us every single night. And, you know, everyone would judge, you know, why do you have your kids sleeping with you? They're way too old for that. But I feel like they needed the extra snuggles, and I needed it more than anything. And so, you know, we would switch out who got to sleep with mom and dad, and there was other mattresses and stuff. And so we did lots and lots of snuggles, and we just barely stopped doing that, actually. Like, it still has been 2.5 years of lots and lots of snuggles and just doing family activities together. So that's been a lot of fun. You know, we took them to Disney World and did those awesome things together. But there were a lot of miracles along the way, like looking back, that I didn't realize at the time, that just seemed like huge inconveniences. So my mom had kept telling me for the whole, like when I first told her I was pregnant, she's like, you need to not find out what the baby is. It's just more fun. It's more exciting. And so, like, grudgingly, I agreed to do what my mom said, and I didn't find out, you know, the gender of it. And looking back now, I'm really grateful I did, because I did feel a very strong bond to my baby. But I don't know how to explain. It's just, it seems so much harder if you don't know if it's a boy or girl, like, because you don't know if to call it a he or a she or the name, you know. And so I felt like maybe that helped me a little bit, not knowing the gender. And then another miracle I had that was driving me crazy beforehand was things just kept working out to where we weren't able to go get a car seat beforehand. So we didn't have a car seat. I couldn't find the right size clothes and different things. And then I couldn't even find the screws and the stuff to put the crib together. So, like, nothing was ready for a baby to come home. And I was really, really stressing about that. And my husband was like, it's okay. We've had 4 other babies. Like, we're going to be fine, you know? And so he just kept telling me those things. But inwardly, I was just, like, panicking because, you know, you go through this nesting of, I got to get this ready. I got to get this ready. And, you know, nothing was ready. But looking back, I'm just so grateful that I couldn't find the screws to the crib. Because if I had to come home to an empty crib, I couldn't have stayed strong like I did. If I would have had to carry a car seat in the car, I couldn't have done that. And so, like, these little things that seemed like such inconveniences were actually little miracles, and God knew that those things would have, you know, made it worse. And so even though this trial has been devastating, and I think about my baby every single day, not one day has gone by that I haven't thought about him or pictured him running around or any of that. You know, like, I think about him every day, multiple times a day. And God knows, you know, he knows my pains. He knows I'm struggling. And another miracle that I feel all the time is, like, I feel broken all the time, but there's been a lot of things that have helped me not feel that way. One of the huge things that is crazy to me is, like, my kids, whenever they break down and they start crying, say, Mom, we miss our brother. And I think, you know, we have a rainbow baby, and that definitely helped heal my heart. Like, not replace Zion, but just, I don't know, I can't describe the feeling of how it makes you feel so much better, but that helped. But having the kids see Jonah going around everywhere, it's really hard for them because they imagine Zion more because they have another little brother, you know. And so, but the thing that amazes me is every time they break down, I don't feel weak at all. That's when I feel the strongest. And that's when I feel the Spirit, like, come over me. So I know how to comfort my kids, that I know what to say to them, that I know what to do to help them feel better, whether it's, you know, let's watch a movie together, let's cuddle, or we just talk about God's plan and how there's going to be a resurrection and how someday we're going to see him again. And we're always able to turn those tears into laughter and excitement. My kids are so excited for the resurrection. And I feel like had we not had lost Zion, then maybe their testimony for the resurrection and the coming of the Savior wouldn't be as strong. So there's that. I recently was reading some material that's on different Christian things, and it was saying, talking about a brother who had lost his brother, and he had said, you know, none of us understood why, and we were angry, but looking back now, we just had to go through the refiner's fire to be better. And I feel like that's with me. Like, every single day, you never know if you're going to feel sad or happy or angry or, you know, all over the place. But I feel like that's the Lord trying to make me better. He's waiting for me to turn to him. in some scriptures. Let me show you. I just wanted to read you this quote that I was reading today, and it was over patience. And I'd never heard this. It says, like, why is patience important? And it just says, patience is the capacity to endure daily trouble, opposition, or suffering without becoming angry, frustrated, or anxious. It is the ability to do God's will and accept his timing. When you are patient, you hold up under pressure and are able to face adversity calmly and hopefully. And I feel like this trial, without this trial, I wouldn't have been able to develop this. And I wouldn't say I'm the most patient, because there's a lot of times when I don't meet this description, when I do feel angry or frustrated, or like I feel a lot of trouble and turmoil. But there have been a lot of times, more often than not now, looking back, as we're getting further away and as I pray more, where I feel calm and I feel hopeful. When I know that someday I'm going to hold my boy again. Someday I'm going to get to feel his fingers, hang onto my hand. Those little things you don't think about until it's not there. And so I feel like I've learned to love my other kids more deeply, because ever since we got married, we had babies like every 2 years. And so babies take up a lot of time and focus. And so, you're always switching. So like you take care of one, get them to where they can be good with dad, because dad loves toddler and age and up. He loves babies also, but it's just he would take care of the toddlers and I would get the babies, And then when we lost Zion and I didn't have a baby for a while, I felt lost. Like, what am I supposed to do? I feel like I didn't know how to love my other children. And that sounds really sad and terrible to say, but my mind was always on babies, So I had to really learn about my kids, and I had to really focus on them and then talk to them more. And obviously, like I said, more snuggles and that. But my relationship with my kids is so much stronger than it's ever been, because I lost one. And you never know what you have until you lose it. So if you're watching today and you haven't lost a baby, or you haven't lost kids, just look at them tonight. Look at their smile. Listen to them laugh. If they want to tell you something that seems off the wall and it's like bugging, you think it's bugging you or it's interrupting your conversation, just stop and look at them. Because you're not promised tomorrow. You're not even promised today. You don't know what's going to happen. So I just want you guys to know that we all have trials, right? But God's always there. God's mindful of you, just like he's been mindful of me. How he's mindful of me when I couldn't find the screws to the crib. Like, sometimes inconveniences are God's way of helping you, and you can't see that now. So I just want to, tell you guys how much I believe in God and how much I know that he's with each of you, just like he's with me. And thank you for listening to my story. I don't know.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you, Meagen. Came on and shared so much from your heart. I can see that you're a survivor, and I love your story about how you served your children and became so much closer to them through your service to them. And you're such an example to the rest of us of knowing that even when it's hard, to just hold on to your babies just a little bit longer, a little bit more, and put our devices down, right? And just be able to enjoy those moments with our babies. More meaningful relationships will be through that service that we're doing, because I think as parents we forget that we serve our children all the time. That's kind of what we do from the moment that they're born till they leave the house or till they return to their Heavenly Father. I'm grateful for that time with my own children. So thank you for your example to remind me to love them a little bit.
Thank you.
Yes. I want to also just remind everybody about what October's service opportunity is, and that's Meals with Love. So if you haven't had an opportunity to provide a meal for someone that might be in need, you can even make some you feel drawn, a feeling inside, a name comes to you that maybe this person can benefit from a meal. They're going through something, or you just know that they're having a hard time making them plate of cookies. Just we appreciate Vanessa and her idea to make this project Meals with Love, and we will be collecting pictures and all those things of meals that have been made and that you want to contribute, so that we can acknowledge all that love that was served this to all those that needed an extra feeling of love from our. So anyway, thanks again for joining us tonight on our survivors page, and we look forward to our next week, and we look forward to being able to continue to have these relationships and reach out, feel drawn to anybody, because that's the whole purpose. I feel like there's such beauty in this connection. To know, just being able to connect with Meagen this week has been just extra blessing to me, that God is aware of all of us, who we need to help our healing process. And it's through others, whether it's through service. That's why we're here. That's what we want to do. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thank you, Meagen. Bye.
Bye.